As I said previously, yes, we've been doing the quadratic formula, and technically, in the textbook, this is the quadratic formula section of word problems, but not all of them require the quadratic formula to solve. We can solve by factoring. My rule of thumb is look for factors first. It's way faster. Okay? So, and we saw yesterday that there is a little trick, if you figured it out, that you can calculate if something is factorable or not. So if you're having a hard time and you want some extra help, ask me and I can discuss it with you further. But when we did all those different examples yesterday of how the different ones work out, when they're factorable, when they're not, that's a little tip on how to figure out what it is. But often it doesn't take too long to figure it out anyway, if you've got good multiplication skills. Area of the front cover of a book is 273 centimeters squared. The length is 8 centimeters greater than the width. What are the dimensions of the book? Irrelevant that it's about a book. Safe to assume this book has a rectangular cover. It doesn't say that it's a rectangle, but it's safe to assume. So let's just go ahead and solve this one. So what do we start with? Alan?
L represent the length.
Very nice. And let W represent width. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's the next question. Good. And then there's always a little thing that we have to do. Like we're setting up a quadratic at some point, but there's always a little thing we have to do first. What's that thing? How does it work in this question? Does anybody want to take a stab at it? Riley. That is part of it. So area is length times width, and 273 is the area. But before we can continue, there's something else we need to do. Like that's going to be our quadratic. When you've done enough of these, you know where the quadratic comes from and that sort of thing. So Liam? Nice. W is equal to L minus 8. If the length is 8 centimeters more, then if I subtract 8, I'll get the width. The other way of writing that is L equals W plus 8, right? So either one of those would work fine. Now we go back to our area formula. You have to do that too. You have to show that, write that. It's a really good habit. Helps focus your thinking. 273 equals length times width, which is L minus 8. (273) equals L squared minus 8L. Move the 273 over, and I'm already running out of space. So then people think, 273, I don't know anything that multiplies to 273. I'm just going to use a quadratic formula. You can, but how hard would it be to find, like if you really are good with numeracy, if I take 273 and, I don't know, divide it by 20, I get 13.65, which is close to a difference of 8, right? 20 minus 13 and a half, close to a difference of 8. So I'm already in the ballpark. I know enough about numbers that I can pick something that I divide by 273 by, and it would give me something close. So then I just try the numbers around 20. So 273 divided by 19, 273 divided by 21 is 13, difference of 8. Done. I think that's way easier than why do I keep saying that? Than the quadratic formula. So that's L minus 21 and L plus 13, which gives me a difference of negative 8. Therefore, L equals 21 and L equals negative 13. A lot of the ones we did, we got 2 values for length. And when I found the width, they're just the same dimensions, right? So I just got the same rectangle rotated, but that's not what happened here. What happened here? Where did I do that? Okay, that's fine. What happened in this question? And I, yeah, I got a negative, and you can't have a negative length. You can have negative answers. Oh my goodness, some people are already like, every time they get a negative answer, like that learning goal you did today or the one you did yesterday, if you got a negative answer, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Oh, there's nothing wrong with a negative answer if it's just a question, right? But when it's a length or like the number of students who bought a movie ticket or something like that, then it is not allowed to be inadmissible. Whoops, too many I's. Then it's not allowed to be, plus. Not allowed to be negative, right? So in this case, negative length, no good, inadmissible. I use this formula over here. So my length is 21. My width is my length minus 8. So 21 minus 8, which is 13. Therefore, the dimensions are 13 centimeters by 21 centimeters. Difference of 8. Yes?
Where did X come from?
There's no X. It was a mistake, but there's no X.
Oh, then an L.
Yeah. Okay, next question. Yes, it's a good idea to write this down. You probably know this if you've ever done anything with like pictures, you know, making a presentation or making a document for class and you put pictures in it. Or if you've taken like a computer graphics course or anything like that, you've done this. You've cropped pictures. Okay, but you can take a picture and resize it. You know what I mean? So it's too big, and so you drag one of the corners to make it smaller, or you can crop it. And that means you cut parts of the picture out. Either you're cutting something out of it on purpose, or you're just cutting it in a way that makes it fit. So that's what this one's about. This is like a question we've done before, but there's a couple of important differences. So again, you can't just memorize the steps. You've got to understand where the numbers come from, where the relationships are. We're going to draw the picture, and we're going to make sure we think about all of it first. Okay, so we start with a 15. So what are we going to let X? It says, this is interesting. This isn't exactly the type of question where you have to worry about what you let X represent. If you recognize this is a border question, we know how to do those. But it does ask a bit of a different question. It's not asking what the border is. It's asking the dimensions. But we have to find the border first. So we're going to let X represent the width that is cropped. Okay, so let's draw this because it really helps to see the visual. Okay, so this is a picture of me and my friend, my ex-friend, who's taken advantage of me for the last time, and we are no longer friends. So I'm cutting him out of all my pictures. Okay, so that's what this should look like. I've cropped this picture. I'm removing the same width from the top and from the left. Notice that the last time we did a question like this, it was like the border was on all sides, so I had two X's. this one's different. Terry, yes. Oh, yes, that's right. At 2? At 2. It's 5 to 2. Okay, fine. Yes?
Do you know how the picture has changed? How do you know if it's going to be just like a small
Read the question.
picture
You
or-
read the question. You have to read the question and understand what it's asking.
But is it going to say it's going to make like some sort of upside down L shape?
No. It's going to say cropped on the top and the left, or it's going to say has a border on the bottom or the border on the right side. Like, it's going to just explain it. It won't really describe it that way as much as it'll explain it. Okay, so in this case, it is cropped by removing the same width from the top and the left. So what else do we know? We know the original dimensions, which were 15 from here to here. I'm going to move these out a little bit. So 15 all the way from here to here. And 10, I believe, all the way from here to here, right? Okay, so what do I do? What do I know? Can I figure out, Mahmoud?
There's going to have to be a difference of 5 between each number.
I don't think we can jump to that conclusion yet. Like in the answer, you might be right, but that's a long way. We're a long ways away from thinking about that.
Wouldn't it be x minus 15?
X minus 15. I think you're on to something. I think you're close, but I don't think that's quite what we want. Riley?
Since the original area would have been 150 centimeters, and then 46, now it would be 24.
Nice. I like that. There's a lot of things going on in what Riley said. So let's do that first. Original area was 10 times 15, so 150. Area that that it's reduced by, okay? So like area of the border, it says it's reduced by 46. So the area of the cropped picture, so after you take the border away, you start with 150, you take away 46, is 150 minus 46, which is 104. Nice. That's part of it. Doesn't matter what order you do this part, right? That's a big part of what we're going to need. And again, every question is different. Remember the last time it was like I had to multiply by 2 and add them together. See how this one's different? You can't just, it's not like there's a formula that solves these, where I always take the area and multiply by 2 and add them. That won't work in this case, so it's different. Very good, Riley. What else? Last thing. Yes, Anang. 15 minus x. So if this is x and this is 15, then what's left is 15 minus x. Good. And if this is x and this is 10, take away x. There's the dimensions of the cropped part. So again, it's not 2x plus 15 and 2x plus 10. Okay? And now I can do area equals length times width. So my area is 104. And length and width doesn't matter which is which. 15 minus x. Whoops, what am I doing? Minus x. 10 minus x. And what do? Expand, simplify, move everything to one side. Set it equal to 0. And then factor, quadratic formula, whatever works. Okay, so go ahead and start that. X squared minus 25x plus 46. Is that what we got? A lot of these border questions don't work out nicely, and you can't factor them, so you use the quadratic formula. But this one is factorable. Does anybody know what they are? Hayden?
X minus 23 times x minus 2.
Yeah, 23 and 2. Very good. So again, like, I know they're a little bit different numbers than you might be used to from the last unit when we did all the factoring, but you probably can figure that out pretty quickly. And that is so much faster than a simple trinomial, right? Like, oh my goodness. Then putting that into the quadratic formula, doing all of it, and then, oh my gosh, it was factorable the whole time. So x is 23 or x is 2. I always like work through this and I get caught up in doing all the math, because it's like so much fun to expand, simplify, and like factor. You forget about what you're actually doing. And so I always go back and go, what was I, like what, so x is 23, what was I doing anyway? Okay, so 23 is the width that we cropped, but it's asking for the dimensions. So now what do I think about this answer of 23 and 2? What do you think about that answer? Didn't get a negative. That seems to be okay. So there's two options here. What do you think?
If the right answer, well, say we choose 23,
Yeah.
can't really crop 23 centimeters off something that's 10 by 15.
Yeah, exactly. So see how this one, so what Riley's saying is 23 is inadmissible, but not because it's negative, right? Positive. Everybody says, oh, there's nothing wrong with that. How do I take 23 away? How do I crop this by 23? Can't do that. Doesn't make any sense. So this one's inadmissible for a totally different reason. It just doesn't make sense in the end. Okay, so my length is 15 minus x, which is 15 minus 2, which is 13, and my width is 10 minus 2, which is 8. Therefore, the dimensions, because that's what it asked for, like, in the question, right? Didn't ask for the border, it asked for the dimensions. The dimensions are 8, centimeters? By 13 centimeters. Everybody good with that? One more. Little things. See how, like, there's always these little things that crop up in all these different examples. So that's why we're doing all different ones. So as I'm sure you guys know, they talk about the size of a television screen by its diagonal, right? So 46-inch screen TV is a 46-inch diagonal, which doesn't tell you the dimensions because it could be more square or it could be more widescreen. So TV enthusiasts would know what ratio they would want, right? But anyway, not important for this question. For us. So let's, this one says find the dimensions. So and it calls it the height and the width. So we'll say let H represent height. Let W represent width. We'll draw it. Width, height. There's the diagonal. Tells me the diagonal is 38. Now what? What else does it tell me? Jaden? Height plus 6. Nice. So there's it just gives it to me. There's my little mini formula that I have to do before I get going. TV screens are rectangles. So a lot of people think, oh, this is like an area question. So I guess I do 38 equals h times h plus 6. Like I think some people would do that. But why is that wrong? Because this is a rectangle. Yeah, 38 is the length of the diagonal. It's not the area. You multiply the dimensions together, it'll give you area, but 38 is not the area. So how do I relate those measurements?
C squared equals A squared plus B.
That's right, Pythagorean theorem, very good. Maybe. That's maybe why I kept saying Pythagorean theorem. Okay, so what is the C squared? That's the 38 squared. And A squared and B squared are just the height and the width. Doesn't matter which one's which. So H squared plus H plus 6 all squared. We good with that? Expand, simplify, move everything to one side. Did you get 2h squared plus 12h minus 1408? What do you notice? Very nice. Common factor of 2. Divide both sides by 2. Gives me h squared plus 6h minus 704. Two numbers that multiply to 704 and have a difference of 6. Again, that seems like, I don't think I can figure that out, but it's actually not that bad. Once you get into the ballpark, maybe try dividing by 30, dividing by 40, something like that, and you get two numbers that are about different by 6. Then try a bunch of combinations, and you'll actually find in this case it's not factorable. So what do we do? Quit? What do you do when it's not factorable? Quadratic formula. Very good. So go ahead and try that. I got 2,852. You want to check that and make sure that that's right? I said this before, I think. No need to try to reduce that for a word problem. It's not useful to us. We're trying to get the dimensions, so we don't need like a answer that's got a radical in it. So this is just h equals negative 6 plus 2852 over h over 2, sorry, and then h equals negative 6 minus root 2852 over 2. $23.7 and negative 29.7. That one's no good. If my height is 23.7, my width is the height plus 6. Yeah, 6. Which is 23.7 plus 6, which is 29.7. Are 23.7 inches by 29.7 inches. In the real world, those measurements would absolutely be rounded. So, makes perfect sense that it doesn't work out exact.